Communication rhythms are really important. In my experience, employees in growing organizations rate lack of communication as one of their top 3 concerns. But most companies have only ad hoc communication. So here's how it looks. The boss says, there's a problem, there's a shipping problem, there's a customer problem. Everybody get into this room and let's figure it out. And the meetings are ad hoc. And then there are meetings that happen in hallways, but some people aren't there. And there's some people who are there that shouldn't be. And then there's another crisis and there's another crisis meeting and everybody gets into the room and tries to solve things again. And things get solved, but the company lurches from one ad hoc meeting to the next. What I want to do is help you establish an ongoing rhythm of communication where you say, okay, I've got a great strategic idea. I'm going to hang on to that one for our upcoming quarterly strategy meeting. Or this is something that management needs to consider. I'm going to hang on to that for our weekly. Or this is something that I want to bring up in our daily huddle. We have a rhythm of ongoing communication. Depending on your personality type, you may be more of a communicator or you may be not a natural communicator. Many leaders that I work with struggle with communication and it's not something that comes naturally to them. They're doers, not talkers. So if you aren't a natural communicator, then rhythms become even more important. Because then your team can say, well, I will have a chance to talk to my boss and it's coming up. I know I've got 4 times a year to have my boss's ear. And that becomes really valuable. Did you ever play in a band when you were in school? Maybe you play in a band now. Well, imagine if you recruited a band and you got a space where everyone could sit and you put out chairs and you invested in buying music for them and you put it on stands and then you recruited people and you gave them all the right instruments and you sat them in all the right chairs and then you said, okay, everybody start playing. And there was no rhythm. It would be cacophony. It would be chaos. And that's often what our communication is like in an organization. Most often, here's how communication works. You know what? We've got a huge problem. Everyone into the boardroom. Let's talk about it. And it's ad hoc and there's no rhythm to it. And you're like that band with no rhythm. Well, successful communication is about rhythms. It's about we have regular times when we communicate around a whole variety of things. And I know that, hey, I'm going to have a communication rhythm with you where we're going to sit down and talk about your career. And I'm going to have a coaching time. So maybe I bookmark that knowing that it's coming. Now, you may be a natural communicator, but even if you talk all day long, you may not be talking about the important questions about what's working for you in this role, what isn't working, what are your career goals and all those sorts of things. And that's what we're trying to address by doing Coach and Connect and by these communication rhythms. We're putting it on a rhythm so that you know that everyone is receiving the feedback that they need in a timely way. Which rhythm is right for you? The faster the pace of business, the more frequent Coach and Connects should be. So if you're in a business that's growing, let's say at 15% a year or more, you should have more frequent Coach and Connects because there's more to communicate and there's more to discuss. If you're growing at under 5% a year, you might be able to back it off because maybe things aren't changing as much. But I suggest that a minimum is 2 times a year and a maximum is about 4 times a year. The important thing is that you choose a rhythm you really can execute on. It's better to have a basic rhythm that you execute than a perfect rhythm that you stop doing. So start with 1 per year if necessary. Next year you can worry about doubling it. Just get started on some rhythm that you're committed to keeping so that you're committed to enhancing communication. You're committed to giving more feedback. Focus on it being regular. You need that regular rhythm. So start somewhere, but make sure you don't give it up. Now, just to encourage you, typically your sessions will get shorter over time. Your first session will be longer because you're explaining how the star chart works. The person has never been through it. They've got a lot to empty out about, and you've got a lot to listen to and a lot to say. So it starts being longer. But as time goes on, your third and fourth sessions will likely get shorter because you've discussed a lot of that stuff already. And now you're just going back over your commits and finding out if anything has changed. So these sessions do get shorter. And the more often you do them, the shorter they tend to be. I think this will encourage you as well. Coaching won't require a lot of prep time. Now, you do need to put some prep time in, but it's nothing like the old style performance review. It's more frequent, it's less formal, and it's a discussion. It's not like you're giving a report card. So You just keep your ear to the ground. You take note of things. Once you're in the rhythm of it, you know, hey, we'll be sitting down in 3 months again or 4 months or whatever your rhythm is. And you just keep mental notes and maybe you write them down. But it doesn't take the kind of effort and preparation that the old style performance review does. Consider spreading your coaching sessions throughout the year. Rather than saying, oh boy, it's review time. I have to do 20 reviews and you're exhausted. And the more reviews you do, the less meaningful they get because you're just so tired of doing them. Consider beginning with the anniversary of hire of the person. So that would naturally stagger them throughout the year. Or maybe just say, try to do 1 or 2 a month, every month. So you're always fresh and you're always in the rhythm of coaching. Just have a standing meeting with that person so that they know, hey, on my anniversary of hire and 6 months from then, I'm going to have my coaching time, or every quarter at this time, I'm going to have my coaching time, so that they can count on it. Now it's your turn. Prepare your first coaching session. What's the main theme you want to address in this session? What are some examples illustrating that theme? What safe, neutral location will you meet at? Where will you plot the person on the chart? And you want to decide that beforehand. You don't want to chicken out when you get into the meeting, so decide before where they're going to be plotted. Try role-playing your coaching session. How will you respond to various scenarios? Think it through for best results. Don't be intimidated. There is no perfect coach. And remember this, every coach begins as an amateur. The best professional athletic coaches on the planet all started as amateurs. There was a time when they didn't know a single thing about their sport and they didn't know a single thing about coaching. So everyone has to start somewhere. So don't be intimidated. Just choose a person, set up a time, and try your first coaching session. You'll get better and better at it by doing it. And finally, here are some master tips to encourage deeper discussion. Please tell me more. So how do you feel it went? What are you most worried about? What are you most confident about? How can I best support you? What are your ideas to make it better? Is there anything that you think I should know? And incidentally, I've got some really interesting answers to that one. Everything from things like, you need to know that I'm not going to be here in the fall because I'm going back to school. Well, that's good to know. To, that we have an employee who's stealing from the company. You give an opportunity for whistleblowers to speak up as well. What do you wish the team knew about you? There's all sorts of these deeper questions that you can ask to get beneath the surface and help that person empty out. In this module, you learned the importance of developing a coaching rhythm. You learned how to choose the rhythm that's right for you. You learned how to make the process less work for you. And you learned how to get started on your very first coaching session.